How you gonna leave your imprint on this world? Be authentically you. 'Cause now is your season to live out your reason. Just be you. How you gonna leave your imprint on this world?
Well, hey, y'all, and welcome to Authentically You Imprint. We are so very glad that you all have joined us today.
Welcome.
Welcome. Mm-hmm. Here on the Imprint, it is our heart's desire to reach out to those of you in our communities who are out there doing some fantastic things. We want to shine the spotlight on you because the world needs to know who you are and what you are doing to improve the lives of your family, to improve the lives of your neighbors, in your neighborhood, on your jobs. We have so many people who are out there doing some fantastic things.
Some fantastic,
awesome things.
But it's around the world.
It's around the world.
It's around the whole world. While we're in the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan area,
yes.
For those who are not familiar, it's Washington, Maryland, and Virginia. We're so close, we all considered family.
Yeah.
So we call it the metropolitan area. That's where we are, the nation's capital. So we're spotlighting people where we are, but don't feel hindered by that because we have Zoom now. Wherever you are around the world, whether it's Jamaica, Ghana, wherever you are around the world, Spain, all these places.
Absolutely.
Listen, if you know somebody doing something amazing, we can work it out when we get the translator in.
Yes.
And we can talk about what you're doing around the world.
Absolutely.
This is a global thing. Locally, we got people doing fantastic things, man. I mean, totally amazing things. So we're spotlighting our little area here.
I tell you, we're spotlighting some fantastic people. Our guest today, the person that we're spotlighting today, we're going to bring her on. Her name is Damia Jackson.
Hey, Damia.
Welcome to Authentically You Imprint.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I am super excited.
When I went to a new company, of course, they chose him as my trainer. So it was great because Eric knew I didn't really need to be trained. So we spent a couple of weeks just talking as we worked, just doing great things. And Eric was talking, and I was so comfortable with Eric, man. I mean, we talked. So for several days, we just kept on talking about everything. And Eric's so easy to talk to. We were opening up about our lives and what was going on in our lives. And a lot of people don't know a lot of the aspects of my life. I can tell you, I can look at Eric and he was shocked about some of the things that I've done in life, from law enforcement to project management for the government, a whole bunch of things. And then I landed back into truck driving so I could have more free time and doing things that I wanted to do. So while talking to Eric, about the third day, Eric started talking about this woman. And he was raving about how great she was and the things that she's going through and things that he's been through and involved in, how she has helped his life so far. And, I just perked up in the truck. I just kind of sat there and I looked and I was just kind of smiling. And I told Eric, I said, it's amazing that you talk about her because I have a television show. Eric is like, man, like, oh man, he's doing something else. There's something else he's doing. So I pulled it up to show him. This is what I'm doing. You never know who you're talking to, or whatever the case may be. And his mind was just blown. He said, you got to get her on your show. She is great. So through Eric's recommendation, we called and hooked up and we got to talking to her. And it's amazing. I love to see men talk with so much passion about relationship and the things that he been into. He had no idea that me and my wife had done marriage counseling. We have actually had marriage groups. We have traveled almost around the world, different countries with marriage groups and things like that, doing great things. So, of course, it perked me up. What did you are so excited about that's changing your life at the age that he are? I'm not going to say his age. I'm not going to say his age. But I got to thank you, Eric Sumner. I must thank you for hooking us up with Miss Jackson.
Yes.
It is great. We're looking forward to some great
Absolutely.
things. So this is how I met her. I connected her with my wife, and they got to talking the first night.
It is
We
amazing.
just kept on talking, and it was great. So today, here we are.
Yeah, here we are.
Here we are. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Look, we are separate, but we are together. I'm feeling the love. I'm feeling the love. And let me just say really quickly, it's Damia Jackson. 80% of people go with Damia, so I completely understand that. But just so everyone knows, it's Damia Jackson. Thank you again, you all, for having me here. I am truly grateful for Eric for bringing us together, at least virtually for right now in the year of COVID. And I'm looking forward to us being together face to face at some point in the near future.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
Chris, why don't you tell us why we're excited about her and what does she do? What Miss Jackson do to get us to interview her that's so amazing?
Well, first of all, once you are on the Authentic for You Imprint show, you are family.
Happy.
And we do not lose contact with you.
Right.
Yeah, we will follow you, throughout the rest of your career, and we'll have you back on from time to time just to touch base and see, what improvements or additions you have made. But your website says, "Welcome to Fit Life." Yes. Your company, your business is Fit Life, fueling your transformation.
Wow.
I love it. And I love this part, you are a certified personal trainer through the American Council on Exercise.
Yes.
Give us a little bit of background about that.
Well, my journey with wellness, and really because fitness is a piece of wellness, right? My journey with the fitness portion has been a long path. I've been into fitness for more than 20 years, but it was really in the last, I would say, 5 years that I actually considered, I kind of understand what this journey means, and maybe there's some value to me helping people get further along their path to meet their health and wellness goals. So talking with a couple of trainers, they suggested that I get certified. And even then I kind of pushed back for probably a couple of years. And I was like, I don't, your own insecurities, you have to kind of sit with them and look at them and confront them. And eventually I said, okay, I'm just going to throw caution to the wind. And I signed up for a course that was supposed to prepare me to take the exam. I did that and still didn't feel quite ready to take the exam. So I delayed it maybe another 6 months and studied some more, and finally pulled the trigger in June of 2018, took the exam and passed it. And that was a huge moment for me. It was really, that was the hard pivot for me at that time. So at that point, then it was like, all right, so what am I gonna do going forward? How do I get clients? And through the American Council on Exercise, ACE for short, they have an affiliation with another website, also called Fit, FYT, where that stands for Find Your Trainer. So I was able to list my services there and got my first client probably, I think I started with my first client in August. And I was super nervous.
Wow.
Super nervous. Yes. But we got together, we developed a friendship. I tend to take an approach with my clients. I tell them, we're a team. So I don't have, I'm not gonna be standing over you hollering. I'm gonna, let's figure out, what your goals are, and let's figure out how to best get you there. And we'll try some things. If there are things that you don't like, we can throw those things out. I want this hour to be that we spend together, because most of my sessions usually last an hour. I want it to be a time that's well spent, and I want it to be enjoyable, even though it's gonna hurt.
Right.
So that's my thing. So after that first client, then the clients just started coming. So I think I've been very fortunate with respect to every client I've had. Let me not say every client. I would say 90% of my clients that I've had, I have thoroughly enjoyed, and we developed relationships. So we would get together. You know, it's almost like a therapy session. They would share what's going on in their lives, because lots of times you don't leave those things in your home, right? Our feelings aren't light switches. So they would share what's going on with them, particularly because they're in a certain mood when they show up for their session. I would share portions of my life. So it's been a fun journey thus far. It really has been. But that's kind of what's led me somewhat to today. The pandemic changed some things, obviously, in terms of how you get clients and how you train and how you connect with people in a way that's safe. So that's definitely been a challenge for me, and kind of forced me to think outside the box to a certain degree.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Excellent. And you are absolutely correct. The pandemic has definitely caused all of us to stretch a little bit and to think outside of the box and to be very, very creative about doing what it is that we do and remain safe in doing it. So, but I appreciate that, because it has definitely caused us to see what we do in a different light.
Absolutely. I tell
that's
people,
an excellent point.
This year hasn't changed you. I don't know what you've been doing in some facet. It doesn't have to be a huge change, but
absolutely,
I just don't know how 2020 could not have left some imprint on all of us.
Exactly.
Well,
exactly.
It definitely has left imprint on most of us, if not all of us, because just prior to the pandemic, I had lost all this weight. And going through this thing because of our need to be healthy at our age.
Exactly.
And then we come to this pandemic where we're locked in. Listen, people, don't feel bad because you made some rough decisions on what you should eat or what you should do, and you got relaxed. I mean, mentally, mentally, things happen to people, and this COVID-19 was no fault of anybody.
Any of us.
It was all of us in this thing together. So we were locked home. We did more eating than we should. We did not exercise the way we should because we were told not to go out, and we had to wear masks. So fitness and all that type of stuff is something that took a hit for majority of the people. So we're going to get right back to her. Listen, we're going to take a short break for this commercial, and then we're going to come right back so she can tell us how in the world did she handle being a fitness trainer in this COVID-19 situation. We'll be right back.
What is it that inspires passion? That thing that keeps us from thinking that we know it all, but instead makes us say, I have to know more. What is it that makes us keep trying after we've fallen time and time again? It's the thing that makes us smile after we finally figured it out. When what used to be difficult is now second nature. It's the joy of knowing our hard work was not in vain, but instead has made us better as people. It's the beauty of learning.
Here we are. We're right back at it. So I wanted to just ask you, how in the world did you deal with staying fit through this COVID-19?
Oh, wow. So that was a challenge, particularly because I work a full-time job and I work at FDA. So we dealt, and I'm in the medical device area. So we dealt with a lot of the COVID-related devices. So when I say the lift early on in the pandemic to deal with a lot of the they called emergency use authorizations, those submissions that we had coming through that program, I was working evenings. I was obviously working days, evenings, and weekends. Wow. And I struggled a bit early on, to be perfectly honest. I struggled with holding on to what felt normal, to some sense of a routine. You don't realize oftentimes how soothing your routine is, or how much you rely on it, until there are things that kind of come along and turn everything inside out. So the one thing that I felt like I could control during that time and felt normal was working out. That was it. So that's what I stayed with. Once I kind of, went through in my mind, like, what am I going to do? How am I going to manage my own mental well-being with all of this stuff coming at us? Like, we're very limited in what we could do and where we could go. And then having work just kind of barreling down on me during that time. So yeah, I would work out. I would work out, and honestly, on Saturdays, I would just go for long drives. But I would definitely keep to some sort of workout program. It didn't look like maybe what it did pre-pandemic, obviously, because I couldn't go into the gym. And I have a studio in my home, but I mean, I was training at work pre-pandemic because we have a gym at work. And then, I would have clients. I also had a membership at Gold's. We have a clubhouse with a fitness facility in my development. Mm-hmm. I was also going to the Lears Community Center. So I had a number of different places I could go. So, now I'm just down to my studio on the first floor of my home, which is where I would train clients. So I tried to keep to that. I would modify if I could only get 30 minutes in, then I would just do 30 minutes. I would typically train for an hour. I went on walks a lot. Mm-hmm. Yes, that helped. Just kind of getting out, getting some fresh air, kind of helped me mentally and emotionally, and obviously physically, because I'm moving. And my philosophy is some movement is better than no movement, particularly as we age. I believe that the key to aging well and the key to independence as we age is fitness. It really is. It's getting up and moving our bodies in a consistent and with a degree of consistency, for sure.
Well, that's wonderful.
That's an amazing point. Yeah.
One thing for sure, we was consistent during the COVID. I worked through the whole thing, which helps me from not being so bad because I was moving. But for the most part, up the steps, down the steps, into the kitchen. And I'm sure for most of you who are stuck in the COVID-19, we don't want you to feel guilty.
No, we're not trying to make anybody feel bad.
What you've done. What we're offering you now is an opportunity to get fit based upon your circumstances. And I believe that the fitness world is going to be overwhelmed with people who have been affected by this thing. And we want to say to people across the world, because here in the United States, we seem to be coming out of COVID-19. Things are opening back up. Maryland, the area which we live, I believe fully went open on yesterday. So people are able to go back to some things that bring about some normalcy. Briefly, tell us about how the mental aspect, because a lot of people feel guilty and they say, well, if I go get a trainer, the trainer's going to be extra hard on me, and she don't understand that I just got through this COVID-19. I was doing well. I had my routine down or whatever, and I'm not certified, so I don't have no image to uphold. And I kind of let it go, but I care about my health and what I'm going through. Can you speak to the mental aspect and encourage people who might have fallen off their routines?
Absolutely. I believe, particularly during this time, self-care. I mean, I believe we've heard more about self-care in 2020 and obviously into 2021 and mental health and mental well-being than we ever had before. I believe there's been a huge spotlight on those aspects because the things that people have done to cope were not necessarily afforded to them during this time. So for me, it's not about beating yourself up. It's about giving yourself some grace and some mercy. I think those are two huge things. And I try to tell my clients, particularly my new clients, try not to focus on what you're not doing, right? Or what you shouldn't be doing. Let's focus on incorporating something that you can do consistently. And sometimes, even if that means you go for a 10-minute walk after every meal, you've at least walked. If you do that, and we're talking about just 3 meals, you've at least walked 30 minutes, right? So I try to focus on those kind of things. They don't have to be, you don't have to make these big, grandiose, sweeping changes to some of your habits. because I think that's what people get caught up on. Like if they get a trainer, oh my gosh, she's going to expect me to do X, Y, and Z out the gate. And oftentimes it's really not about that. I will say there have definitely been times where it's like, if people come and they're a little stressed, it's like, let's go for a walk. Let's go for a walk. Let's get some fresh air. Let's make that kind of your warm up so you can get moving. You can kind of decompress. Because I do believe there's something about moving and fresh air that helps shift your mindset, if even only temporarily. So I think that makes a big difference, but it really is about taking small things, figuring out what small things you can do consistently.
Right.
And I'm a champion, so I'm definitely not trying to kill someone. I definitely don't have high expectations of someone that's coming in and maybe hasn't done anything in quite some time and expecting them to be able to push dumbbells and bicep curls and do some ridiculous numbers. Definitely not that. It really is about, all right, this is where we're at, so let's figure out what the incremental changes can be implemented. Yes.
That is totally amazing.
Excellent.
When we deal with the mental condition of people, because we know that your mental capacity is probably more 80% of your health.
Absolutely.
Than most people think. They think that the physical exercise is, if I do the physical and I get buffed and I do this and I do that, then I got it covered. But you got a lot of buff people with some mental issues based upon what they do. And then fitness, for some people, can be an addiction like everything else.
Correct.
To mask things that are going
balance
with us. And I like your concept because you like to deal with the whole person.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
We're not just talking about the physical aspect of things, but dealing with the whole person. Not that you're trying to be a psychologist and all this type of stuff, because a lot of people today have to realize, and this is another subject that we're going too deep with that, a little counseling sometimes along with fitness works out a whole lot, because we find that most of our habits have been developed by things that have happened to us over our lives and in our lives. But with COVID-19, it has been, and I must say it again, no fault of our own. It's nothing that we have done to bring this on or whatever. It just hit us.
Absolutely.
It's there. So speaking to you who might have been feeling some guilt, say, I'm not going to reach out to a certified trainer because I just can't deal with that. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And you can deal with it honestly, because as she said, there's such thing called grace and mercy that we have all experienced. And we thank God that God has shown us our grace and mercy, which brings us to the show that we're on, Authentically You, Imprint. There's nobody else in this world like you. You are unique. So when you get a trainer, you need a trainer that's going to get in touch with you.
Absolutely.
And not going to push you into a gym telling you got to press 150 today.
No, absolutely not.
That's not it. You got to mentally balance yourself and get yourself prepared for it. So don't feel guilty about going there.
No, and really, it is a form of self-care. I have a new client. She's been with me maybe about 3 weeks, and she, we matter of fact, we did a warm up. Our warm up the other day was we walked for about a mile, and she's talked to me about, she's got a very stressful job. She has 2 boys, 10, 11, and trying to raise them in the environment, with everything that's going on socially in the environment right now. It's a lot of stress for her. And she had been toying with the idea of getting a trainer for quite some time, and finally kind of embraced that this is a form of self-care. And we talked about, she started journaling her food and coming in and just kind of reading off what she had been eating. And she, like myself, I am an emotional eater for sure. I figured that out a long time ago, which kind of goes back to those tenets of wellness.
Exactly.
And I say to people lots of times, we develop a relationship with food very early on. Food could be used as a form of punishment, like you can't get up and go outside until you eat, everything on your plate. We We come together around food when we're mourning. We come together around food when we're celebrating. So all of those things leave an imprint on us, whether we are aware of it or not.
Right.
But kind of going back, let me pivot back to this client I was referring to. She's an emotional eater. So what I suggested was, again, let's not focus on what you shouldn't be eating. Let's just try to incorporate some things. Let's focus on what you can incorporate instead of what you can subtract. And I said, I'm not hearing anything about dinner and what you've eaten throughout over these last few days. So how about you tonight? Let's just say tonight you go home and you put some meat on a plate and some veggies and some carbs, and let's just focus on that. Let's not beat ourselves up about maybe the junk that you've been eating or what have you, because I think we can get into a bit of a rabbit hole when we beat ourselves up, and that just serves, it's energy that's better used in another manner, for sure.
Absolutely, that is awesome. And so when we come back after this next commercial break, I want to talk about one of the blogs on your website. You're worth the effort.
Okay. After
this commercial.
Life can be hectic and sometimes overwhelming, but I know that my loved ones need me, the best version of me. That's why it's important for me to take time to sit with my thoughts and clear my mind. Because before I can care for anyone else, I have to care for myself. Self-care is essential.
Welcome back. Here we are, and we're getting ready to talk about a blog. Listen, it's important that go to her website. You can find out more about what she's talking about. She has articles on her website, and she has placed in very useful information. So, as Chris stated, we want to get into asking you a couple of questions about this article.
Absolutely.
Yes, the article is entitled "You Are Worth the Effort."
Yes.
And when we would think about, when most people think about, well, I shouldn't say most, when a lot of people think about exercise and health and fitness, the aspect of it being good for us and we're worth the effort does not come into our mind. We're thinking about the level of effort physically and the pain that it's going to cost us, and having to eat a lot of rabbit food and drink a lot of water, things like that. We don't think about the fact that, listen, this is all about living your very best life.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think we, if I can just say for a moment, but I feel like particularly women, we are, I'm going to say raised, or I feel like, the societal expectation is, we take care of everyone else. And oftentimes that means we put ourselves last on the list of priorities, if we make it onto that list of priorities at all. So that's what made me write You're Worth the Effort. You have to see yourself as a priority. And I think that's a little bit, that mentality is a hard lift for women in particular, for men as well. But I think just because of what the expectation about our role is in society. And I think that once you start to look at your health and wellness as a priority and a form of self-care, then maybe that opens the door a little bit to making, again, incremental changes that are done or applied consistently. They add up to big rewards. They really, really do. Yeah. So that's really what the thought was behind me writing that particular article, and just kind of sharing some of my own journey in terms of that.
And you said the word self-care several times in our discussion, and I keep forgetting to come back to it because it is extremely important. And the going through the pandemic really let me know just how important self-care really is. And you really need, every person really has to factor it into their life. You have to be intentional about doing what it is that regenerates you. What causes you to find your place of rest and be able to be regenerated. And that's all about, whether for ladies, even for gentlemen, manicures, pedicures, getting your hair done.
Yes.
even down to like doing things and like taking walks.
Leave my feet alone. Listen, leave my feet alone.
I think that my feet are not part of this discussion.
We had a whole bad experience,
Yeah.
and right here.
Yeah, the thing about it is, it's amazing. I grew up with 6 sisters.
Okay.
And
Okay.
in my life, all my life,
Right.
trying to tell me what to do. All of my life. So
The mantle fell to me.
and I know how it is. It's difficult to have these conversations because you don't want to isolate men from women and
Right.
women from men in this society who is so I'm not even gonna say a word for it because society has changed. It's different. But we got to know that authentically we have different makeups.
Sure.
Yeah.
Women by nature are caregivers. Women by nature are nurturers in these aspects of life. So they take things a little bit more personal than we do, and they're more willing to sacrifice their own health
Correct.
for
Absolutely.
their children, for their husbands, for things, and they go for years not knowing the devastation of not taking a moment,
Huge impact.
not taking a moment to give their self the care that's needed, because it's always the children need, the baby need, and they don't realize, and it's generally late in life when you get putting a job first, putting your husband, your children, or whatever it is in your life first, and you don't stop and say that, you know what, I need to take a moment. Society is teaching us that all these things, while it is important, while motherhood is important, while being a wife or a girlfriend or fiance, whatever your station is in life, it is always important to step back and realize that you are authentically you. And what you don't define yourself by something that you're doing for a period of time.
Right.
You are a caregiver to children for a period of time. They grow up and leave.
Yeah.
Right.
And those 18 years to 21 years of bad habit of not taking care of yourself tends to follow you or cut your life short based upon what you do. Or your husband, being a wife to your husband, being everything for him and not taking care of yourself. This show is called Authentically You Imprint, because there will never be another you.
Right.
What you do for that moment is very important, but what you do for the rest of your life for you is very important. So when you talk about that you're worth it, you are worth it. Don't identify yourself by simply your children.
Right.
Don't identify yourself by simply whose wife you are or whose husband you are. Don't define yourself. All this stuff is only a small portion of who you are.
Absolutely. It's these labels. And I would even go so far as to say, when you practice self-care and you prioritize yourself, then all of the relationships in your life are enriched because of it. You show up differently. You show up present, and you can allow yourself that space to be present in that moment with whoever you're connecting with, or even if you're just taking time to connect with yourself for a period of time.
So
Absolutely. One of the things that 2 girlfriends and I had a expo. Wow, that was 2018. We did this expo, or maybe it was 2019. Now I'm conflating years. Excuse me. Where we got a group of people together, had a workout, had a couple of speakers where we talked about health and wellness. And at the beginning of the expo, myself and my 2 other girlfriends just kind of shared our own personal stories. And I shared with the individuals that came that particular day that wellness for me is about being mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically balanced. And I shared with them, I had, at my heaviest, I was about 185 pounds. I had lost 50 pounds twice. And kind of what that journey included for me. And part of that was I was eating my emotions. There were things that were going on in my life at those times that I just really didn't want to deal with. So that's what when I talk about being balanced, lots of times if there's an imbalance in one aspect of our lives, if you're really looking with a clear lens, there are imbalances in other aspects as well. And I think we're all I think wellness is really just trying to strive for kind of a homeostatic environment.
Right.
And sometimes you figure out what that key is for one chapter in your life, but it doesn't necessarily mean that key is going to be the thing, that key's going to work in another chapter. So that goes back to grace and mercy. What works here, it's fine. You had some challenges, but you overcame them and you're in a better place. And then, life is random. So sometimes we get out of whack again. I think it starts with being aware of where you're at, what you're feeling, being honest with yourself and figuring out, okay, so this is what the situation is, and looking at it with a clear lens, and then figuring out, how do I take one step forward? It's not that you have to conquer the hill in front of you or your perception of what that hill is in front of you. It's about how can I take one step today?
Absolutely. So if I sign up with you as a client today, take me through, the foundation and build on how I can, I guess just what are the steps to becoming a client? The first steps of becoming a client.
Sure. So interested or potential client will normally reach out through my website, or I've had potential clients reach out to me through social media. I will give them my number and say, let's figure out a good time to chat. And we'll chat for maybe 20 minutes. I try to get an idea of maybe why they sought me out. If they have any kind of specified goals. Have they ever worked with a trainer before? Have they been working out, or, at different time points in their life, have they worked out? Have they had any kind of consistent kind of fitness regimen? So we talk through that. I kind of share with them, my philosophy on working out. We're a team. And you don't have to necessarily have any defined goals when you come to me. But if you decide to sign a contract with me, at some point, maybe 2 or 3 weeks in, once we kind of get a flavor of one another, let's figure out some measurable goals. Let's figure out one thing we can work on for this month. And I give them an example. I say, maybe it's you want to be able to do 10 push-ups on your toes. So those are things we can incorporate into our sessions. So we can, beginning of the month, okay, right now you're able to do 10, but you're doing them on your knees, you're modifying them. So we can incorporate doing push-ups and moderating them and working our way towards perhaps 10 push-ups on our toes by the end of the month. Because I feel like if the small measurable goals are what keeps me going. It's what keeps everyone going, and it keeps them focused. That's why I say, don't focus on the mountain, because in your mind you may think, I want to lose 50 pounds, but we got to break that up. We got to break that up so that you can keep going. So that's typically kind of what I talk to them about during our conversation. Then they say, okay, well, let me, come in for a consultation and we'll chat some more. I will run them through some body weight exercises so they kind of get I want to see how they move and maybe what impediments, if any, they may have. They may have some issues with their knees, or they may pronate, which, could lead to issues in your knees, so forth and so on. And then we will then kind of discuss, all right, so how do you would you like to sign a contract and move forward?
Absolutely. That's excellent. And when we come back after this next commercial break, I want to talk to you about what you just said. People may have some impediments. Mm-hmm. I want to talk to you about some of those when we come back after this next break. Be right back.
Sure.
It's not because I'm always motivated. It's not because of some unquenchable fire inside. It's not because I'm always consistent in my efforts, or even because I have the time. It's because it's about taking one step at a time. It's because if I don't do it, no one else can. It's because self-care is essential.
Listen, welcome back. we just got finished her talking about, you know, how she would handle a new client, some of the things that she'd go into. But she said something amazing that most of us experience, especially as we get older in life. We have some issues that happen to us, some things, some diagnoses that we have been through, or whatever the case may be, which won't allow us to go through a vigorous exercise. And they start using words that tie my tongue, such as impediment and all this other stuff behind it. Not only tie my tongue, but my legs and everything else. Because, you know, when you get down to fitness, I tell everybody I got an impediment. It's basically the food I like. It's my impediment.
We all have impediments, right?
Yeah. I have it. And it's great to hear a trainer speak of, I mean, you mentioned it several times that food is your nemesis.
Right.
Yes.
And we will not admit, because we think there's something wrong with us.
Absolutely.
Because we like to eat food. That's crazy. You know, gluten and all this other stuff that they put into food these days. I got to admit, I don't know what gluten is, but I like it.
But it tastes good.
You know, it adds flavor to whatever it is, because every time they take it out, it's not what I like. What's healthy for a minute.
Right.
Yeah.
But then I'm drawn back to my gluten and my all these other additives that they put in carbs. It's no fault of our own. The industry does that to
That sugar thing is real.
Food
Yeah.
and things like
That's
that.
so true.
And because of that, we wind up with high blood pressure. We wind up with different issues and health issues that we experience. How do you deal with people that may have experienced some of those things?
Right.
Wow. So I have a client who is diabetic. Matter of fact, I saw him yesterday. So we are constantly in contact via text about his numbers. You know, he has high blood pressure and he's diabetic, and a lot of that is genetic. But it's also about, you know, control. Another one of my philosophies is control what you can control. So we've had numerous conversations about, well, do you need the soda? Maybe, okay, so if you're drinking this much soda, do you think maybe you could subtract some of this, maybe 16 ounces of that? Maybe you could make that water substitute. If you're drinking 32 ounces of soda a day, do you think maybe 16 of that you could, you know, take that out, rotate in water? Do you need the bread? So it's a negotiation of sorts. But it can, he's probably the one that I have the most challenge with in terms of some of his eating habits. Because I think a lot of times we tend to want to, you know, if we're diabetic and we're on insulin or we have high blood pressure and we're on pills, you know, we let those things kind of take control, and we just kind of manage around that versus let's make some smarter decisions. It doesn't necessarily mean your whole, you know, the food on your plate has to be all bland. But again, you know, maybe introduce more water, you know, and less juice, you know, and maybe watch out for your, you know, your sugar intake. Just kind of be mindful of it more days than not. And I do tell clients, 80% of it is nutrition. 80% of it. Lots of clients come and they, you know, I just want to work on my stomach. Well, okay, it doesn't work that way. You can't stop, reduce. Right. And by the way, if you want abs are made in the kitchen, right? So what are you eating? You know, and so what I try to do, another philosophy of mine is, if you are eating healthy 80% of the time, and by 80% of the time, let's say 5 days out of the week, and you're engaging in some sort of consistent physical activity. It doesn't have to be vigorous, but it, you know, moderate to vigorous. And you're lifting weights. I tell people that is the golden key. It is, you know, you have to have some sort of, I would encourage them to have some sort of strength training program. Then though that 20%, maybe you can kind of play around with that. You can indulge in some of the things that you want to indulge in. That's pretty much what I do. I indulge on the weekends, but because I'm eating clean and I'm making mindful choices during the week. Right. So I try to encourage them to do that. I've also worked with clients that have either had knee replacements, or I had a client reach out to me because she had to lose a certain amount of weight before she got her knee replaced. So we work more instead of doing like squats. Squats are a very traditional part of the workout program. I'll have them maybe working with resistance bands and strengthening the muscles that are attached to the knee, our quads, strengthen the hamstrings, so that you can do more. But I don't take them down the traditional route of a lower body workout when they have knee issues, for sure. Try to be sensitive to that.
That's very good to hear, because I was thinking about start introducing some weights, some very light weights into my walking. That's pretty much all I do right now is walk.
Okay.
I am one who have some impediments. I have rheumatoid arthritis, so there are just certain things that I cannot do because it will stress the joints and then open up for a flare, and then I'm on my back for a week. So there's certain things that I cannot do, and so with people with those type of limitations, do you recommend that we reach out to our physicians first to make sure we can do certain things and get an idea of what we should be doing first before we reach out to a personal trainer? Or as a certified trainer, do you already have that in your background?
I consider it both. So as a certified trainer, yes, I do know what things I can incorporate when you have certain impediments, but I think it's always helpful to talk to a doctor, because I think sometimes we can get a little excited and want to do extra, and then you're right. Again, it comes back down to controlling what you can control. So I think it should be a two-pronged approach. I think your physician should be aware of, that, want to maybe work with a trainer. Can you give me some things that maybe I shouldn't be doing and I should be doing? And so that we can come up with a comprehensive workout program based on my knowledge and also somebody with a medical background. I absolutely think it should be a team approach.
How do you handle the changing in the medical field, in the medical world? We know they practice, and so we know there's a lot of things that are changing, that are advancing, some scientific things that we have found out, such as for culture. Culture plays a big part in our health and everything else. It's a well-known fact that, especially with African Americans, we were always held to the standard of a small European or Asian whose body mass is totally different, and we were given unrealistic expectations based on our body mass, our build, and everything else, and even our very culture. So we always felt guilty when we went to our physician, and our physician said, well, you should be 120 pounds. Well, my bones alone are 120 pounds. So to go down to my bones, we mentioned talking about, abs and all this type of stuff. I used to have abs, but I found out it was better, instead of working on all those abs, now I have one ab. So crosses my whole thing, and I don't want people to get jealous, because everything. But I work on my one ab, and it does be good. But in all seriousness, doctors have given us as African Americans a bad taste in our mouth.
Absolutely,
body mass and stuff like that, and it's only lately over the years, especially as we go see physicians of our own race and things like that, who understand things better. Who give us encouragement to say, look, you're somewhat overweight, but don't look at the charts, because the chart, and I like that, because the medicine and the medical world is beginning to realize that people are authentically them.
Right.
Yeah.
So instead of looking at me on the chart, and looking at me based upon what the books have been, outdated books have been written. So you're saying, as a trainer, especially as a newly certified trainer, how does that project into health when we see the difference now in body mass based on individuals?
Oh, okay, let me just say, I cannot stand that height to weight chart, that body mass index chart. I think it's, while I understand, it's a traditional way to try to gauge somebody's health, I think it's an outdated way. I think there are so many other, and I'm not saying that chart, that doctors are making decisions based solely on their chart. Obviously they're not. But I think honestly we could do away with the chart, because there are so many other factors that go into determining whether or not you have some health issues. I think someone who is muscular has very little body fat, but muscle weighs more than fat, so can get on a scale and they could be considered obese, which is just so ridiculous. So I don't subscribe to that. And you're right, I hate going, whenever I go to get a physical, I hate getting on a scale. I just hate it. I don't own a scale, and I am always impressed with people who weigh themselves every day, because I think that there are so many other ways to measure your health, and to measure kind of what's going on with your body. And I think we talked about this offline, but I wrote a book, haven't done anything with it, but that's one of the things I talked about, was there are so many other ways to get a gauge on what's going on with your body, that I don't subscribe to the scale. I don't feel like those numbers tell the whole tale. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow, great. We're looking forward to that book.
Exactly.
Definitely it brings us out of this mystical world.
Mhm.
That there is some chart that tells us that we are just totally unhealthy
Right.
when we're feeling the best in our lives.
Right.
Exactly.
Feeling the best in our lives and where we are, and it turns a lot of people off.
Yes.
Simply, and they will not deal with it, because you're telling me I've put all the effort in. I've been doing the right things. I'm eating. I've changed my eating habits and stuff, and they're still telling me I'm obese and all this stuff, and I feel healthy. And this is another form of mental stress us out mentally, because we're trying to compare ourselves to a chart that we're not measuring up to. And any goal that we set that we don't measure up to, we know that people feel as a loss.
Yes. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just going to say, in full transparency, I mean, there was a time where I would get on the scale and I would just there was a lot of anxiety about the numbers, because I put so much emphasis on what that number defined me. And that's why it's like, that's just not realistic. It's not realistic. There's so many other factors. That's why I threw the scale away, because I just feel like, if you're eating right, you're making healthy choices 80% of the time, if your clothes are going to start to fit different. You're going to start to have more energy. There are just a number of different ways to tell, for you, indicators to know you're moving in the right direction, or perhaps you're not moving in the right direction, without the scale, without everything coming down to what the numbers of the scale say.
Exactly.
Yes.
So as we are coming to the end of this spotlight, we want to really give you the stage to share with the listening audience all about what you haven't shared thus far about your business, how we can contact you. I already have all of your social media connections. I will post. Those will be on the screen.
Perfect.
So just give us your parting words about health and fitness.
Life can be hectic and sometimes overwhelming, but I know that my loved ones need me, the best version of me. That's why it's important for me to take time to sit with my thoughts and clear my mind. Because before I can care for anyone else, I have to care for myself. Self-care is essential.
I would say wellness. Okay, so wellness is really, to me, should be our main goal as we move forward in life. And again, wellness for me is defined by being mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually balanced. So I would suggest for folks to spend some time really going inwards, meditating, praying, journaling, to kind of get to maybe the core of what's going on in your life and maybe why you're having some health challenges. I'd say that's empowering in and of itself, because then once you can look honestly at what's going on in your life, then that provides you with some direction and figuring out how to take the first step. And that's really what you should focus on, is the first step. And if the first step is reaching out to me, I'm more than happy to help you along your journey. I do offer virtual sessions, so we don't have to be in the same state. We don't have to occupy the same space. As Christine mentioned, she has my social media, but I also have a YouTube channel called Fit Life One. That's the number one, and fit is spelled FYTLIFE and the number one. So I have workouts on there. I've also shared some of those workouts on my website, which is also called Fit Life One, the same spelling. So that gives you some idea, along with some of my articles. It gives you a flavor of who I am, my personality, and what I have to offer. So I am happy to help in any way I can. I know what it means to have some goals and maybe be struggling to meet them. And I also know what it means to conquer those goals. So I'd love to help people have that sense of empowerment going forward. Make yourself a priority, for sure.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
That is great information. I hope y'all appreciate the show. Listen, we can't wait to get her back on.
Can't wait to get back on.
Yeah, this is definitely not the end of it, but yeah. I want to say, as she talks about, and we mentioned this, dealing with the whole person. Listen, it is important that you realize that you are authentically you. That there is no other you. You're beautiful.
Designer original.
You're designed by God Himself. She mentioned that even in health, that being spiritual, having a prayer life is important, because when people tell us who we cannot be or what we cannot achieve, God tells us who He made us to be. And that we are uniquely us, and God loves us.
Yes.
And He cares for us. So He sends by people who are able to walk us through our journey to help us be the best us that we can be.
Absolutely.
And being the best us that we can be, it would make no sense for me to try to be Chris. Okay, not due to the fact that she's a female and I'm a male. Altogether, it would be a transitional that will I have to change my whole makeup in order to do that. I appreciate who God made me, and who I am. And a lot of times I get off track, based simply because food is my nemesis also. But as she said, it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of it. There are people out there that can help you go where you want to go in your health journey.
And small tweaks go a long way.
And small tweaks go a long way. But having someone who's taking their time to be certified, to study and to find out how to make you a better you is worth its weight in gold. So listen, go to a website.
Yes.
Go to the YouTube channel. Yes. And listen, this is important because we have a website and we have a YouTube channel. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe.
Nothing.
Listen, hit the subscribe button, hit the like, hit the love, or whatever the case may be. So even if you're just stopping by briefly, hit the like, hit the subscribe, because these are the things that it's not that we're trying to count numbers or anything. It's that we want to know that we're making a difference.
Absolutely. And
every now and then it's easy for you to get an update. If you don't want to look at it, don't look at it. But help us out by liking and subscribing. Help her out by liking and subscribing. Just don't stop by. It would be rude to come to my house and not speak to me.
Say hello.
And say hello. So it's rude for you to go to our YouTube channel and to our Facebook and don't like and share and subscribe. And I thank you so much, because you're not going to do that again. That's going to be something that you're going to change. So go ahead, like and subscribe. Thank you.
We have enjoyed this conversation with you.
As have I. As have I.
Really enjoyed it. And as we can very well see, we have just only touched a very small portion of the depth of what we can have in a conversation. So look forward to us reaching back out to you real soon to do a different conversation.
Matter of fact, July.
We'll come back in July.
We're going to come back in July. We're going to do an update.
Yes.
People, we're going to be checking to see if you like and subscribe. Then like and subscribe. It don't make no difference where you are in the world. If you have social media, if you have a computer, from all over the world, you can stop by, like, and subscribe.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure that in most other countries that you are in, they can translate.
Right.
You have devices that translate. So go ahead and like and subscribe us in all 175 countries that we're visiting in. Get healthy.
Get healthy. Yes, absolutely. So listen, thank you all so much for joining us today on the Authentically You Imprint Show. We will see you on next week. And our tagline, continue to make this your season. To live out your reason. Be authentically you.
Yeah.
We'll chat with y'all next week.
Be authentically you. 'Cause now is your season to live out your reason. Just be you. How you gonna leave your imprint on this world? Be authentically you. 'Cause now is your season to live out your reason. Just be you. How you gonna leave your imprint on this